go back to what we've always need to demonstrate, which is the baseline. What is the business as usual situation of a landscape? And then what we then go through is a series of project design, free, prior, and informed concern with the communities, and make sure that we're really understanding how do biodiversity, how do those land practices impact that community, that even the neighbors. So from community, I'm just not looking at the landowner or the land steward, but also all the neighboring parts of that community. And then what changes can be done in a way that starts to restore that biodiversity. At the beginning of a very degraded landscape, we start by just monitoring, for example, with camera traps, biodiversity surveys, what we're seeing from pollinators to birds. The tracking of the avian population is really important, as well as other more larger mammals. So, for example, in the case of a grassland or a forest, we're putting a very specific camera trap monitoring design that rotates the cameras to not only be tracking appearances of certain species, but sometimes even individuals. So as the project evolves, what we're also starting to track is, are there species, are there key parts of that trophic chain that are not present in an environment? But I think as humans, we tend, and we've seen this over and over, we tend to think more about animals, but what we're also measuring here is the diversity of flora. So we look at not only what type, for example, in a grassland, what type of grasses do we have, but what type of brushes, for example, nitrogen fixers, overstories that we can have from a convergence of a pine and oak forest. But also we start to look into the arthropods that are at the end, for example, in a grassland, capturing that carbon. So it's really from the ground, actually underground up, that we start to measure biodiversity, and more importantly, back to the permanence of the implementation and understanding how the landscape is regenerating, is we have to do this continuously. It's not live data necessarily. Sometimes there's an overestimation that this is live sensing of how species in a grassland are changing. Not so much like that, but think about it as a well-known frequency of events where we know what the key monitoring events will have, and they need to happen for at least 40 years. So back to that component of amazing and vast data pools that we're gathering across each one of those projects and then processing them. So for example, AI is used in our platform to identify species, and now even individuals. Now you're looking into thousands, if not millions, of pictures just from one project. We need an AI that can classify those species.